Hey everyone, Final Cut Pros Saturday Meetup Live. We're going to have these a few times every once in a while. We are going to be talking all about Final Cut Pro, NAB, and related video production subjects. So today we have Philip Hodgetts, we have Cirina Catania, and we have Tony Gallardo with this Final Cut Pro Meetups Live. Professionals. Let me see who I have you guys aren't seeing, I have a split screen, a four-way split screen. So up in my left, let me point, I always have this backwards, this way. Tony Gallardo.
Hey everybody.
And
How's it going?
down on the bottom left on the main screen is Cirina Catania.
Hi.
And of course, Mr. Philip Hodgetts.
Hi.
So Philip, now where are you? You're in California?
I'm in California, in Chatsworth, yes.
And Cirina is on the East Coast.
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, you're in Pennsylvania. That's kind of East Coast, depending on what part you're in.
Yeah, there's snow everywhere, so it qualifies.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely, there's snow everywhere. We had snow last night in Maryland.
Yeah, we had a little bit here, not so much as a few days ago.
Ah.
We've had a lot of rain, but we don't get much snow.
No,
I like that.
Yeah, but Philip, didn't they have snow in Las Vegas like 2 weeks ago?
Las Vegas, yes, yeah. And there was some areas of LA that claimed to have got snow, but it was probably more a slushy rain.
Ah, okay.
Phantom snow.
There you go.
We don't get snow.
So,
although traditionally, actually, the San Fernando Valley did get snow on a regular basis. There was snow on the mountains behind where I live now when we first moved here in 2001. Stayed there for a couple of days.
Is that right?
Yeah. It used to be very common, but the urban sprawl has heated up. The streets retain more heat, the houses retain more heat, so it never gets quite cold enough to get snow anymore.
Huh, except in the mountains, of course.
Except the mountains, of course, yes.
Absolutely. So, did you guys see the little movie from The Simpsons I posted on Twitter? Anybody see that? Lisa Simpson. Homer was,
you posted, yeah.
Yeah, Homer was having problems with some kind of I don't know what he was having problem with, and so they did a video, and it wasn't very good, so Lisa says she was going to use Final Cut Pro and take care of business.
Kidding. That is awesome.
That was last week, yeah. I posted it on Twitter. I don't know, it's got like 20 likes or something on there, which is kind of neat. Yeah, that was the event for the week for Final Cut Pro, because leading up to NAB, is there much happening for Final Cut Pro? Have you guys heard anything specifically?
No, I haven't even heard rumors of a Monday evening.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because they've had them for the last 2 years that I've been there, but maybe what about maybe the last 3 years they've had those?
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping something comes down the pike.
Well, at this point, it's a month away. Today's March 9th.
It's a month away.
Yeah, 1 month.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard any scheduling of any Apple official event, so I'm not sure what that means. I mean, it probably is not going to be one, an official event presentation.
I mean, it could just be that they're going to do it all at the last minute. I mean, often they don't want to extend the time of registration, so it's like, do it now or don't ever do it. Get in.
Right. Because people have to know about that. Last year, FCP Exchange is who put it on, so.
Yeah.
Are they doing anything this year, FCP Works?
Not that we've heard of yet.
No, aren't they just consolidating everything on the Faster Together stage, I believe, right? I mean, they're...
Well, that's a different organization.
Oh, that's right. I keep putting the two together.
No.
Both places.
Well, Sam used to be involved with FCP
Yeah.
Works, but I don't believe Sam is involved with them anymore. Sam,
Right.
yes, Lumaforge are doing the Faster Together stage and the Faster Together party on Monday night. What used to be called the Guru Gathering. So that's still going ahead, but it's going under a new name, and I'm not even sure where. Sponsoring it, but don't know where.
Oh, you are sponsoring it?
Yeah, we're sponsoring it and doing something at the Faster Together stage as well, in probably the expo area. Got some neat ideas.
Now,
Everywhere this year.
Philip-
Lumberjack everywhere.
yeah, I don't know if that's been officially announced yet, but of course it's coming up. That so the Guru Gathering itself is not happening, like you said. But there will be a Monday night event. But the thing is, before that, the FCP Exchange.
Yes, yeah.
That
And Apple and Ripple Training generally are involved.
right. So that used to happen like between 5 and 6:30 on Monday at the actual convention center for the last 2 years. I don't know where it happened the year before that, but it was 2 years, and that was nice because that was let me get this right. The Apple Pro Apps marketing team. I always call them the Final Cut Pro team, but of course it's not. It's the Apple Pro Apps marketing team did a presentation, and the last 2 years there's been new things to show for Final Cut Pro. So I don't know if we can assume that there's not going to be an update for Final Cut Pro at NAB or not because they're not presenting. I don't know.
Sometimes I've just got to say I can't say anything because
No,
if
of
I said
course.
anything, it would indicate.
Right.
I mean, usually if there's any change to the XML, we'll be aware of an update many months in advance.
Right.
But if I cannot comment as to whether I'm aware of any changes to the XML or not, and so even if there is something coming, and I knew about it or I don't know about it, I'm not commenting.
Right. No, I understand. No, completely.
Journalist, he wants to know all your secrets.
No, I don't want to.
Nobody's
I don't
watching.
want to
Let's just-
reveal any
yeah, tell us
secrets. No, I don't want to reveal any secrets. But here's one of the things about over the years. I have never been on the team, and I don't want to be because I can comment.
Exactly. I used to have a lot of fun speculating, and now it's like, no, that's like Alex 4D now.
Right. Exactly. So
You know how hard it is for a woman not to say anything?
tell me. I never heard that before. So not being involved with any kind of a beta situation with Final Cut, the fact that there's been no announcement doesn't definitively mean that nothing's happening, but
Right.
it
No.
kind of points that that's a possibility. Now, even if there is, first off, Apple has already announced an update to Final Cut Pro the first half of 2019. They've already announced that, okay, officially. That could be NAB, it could be WWDC, it could be any time in between. When they update Final Cut Pro, it has doesn't have to do with an event, doesn't have to.
No.
If it coincides, it's fine.
And if this is the promised, we'll update your media, your legacy media, which is what they promised in this, that would have no change to the XML and it would not involve us. So it could well be that there is going to be something released that just simply we don't have any idea about it because we just don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't involve us. I mean, it's very much developers get involved on a need-to-know basis, and if there's no change to the XML, we absolutely don't need to be involved. And like you, Richard, I'd rather not be involved if we don't.
Well, Philip, let me ask you a question. If you can't answer it, that's fine. So they pre-announced an update to Final Cut Pro that's going to take care of identifying and converting legacy media. The problem was, of course, the new operating system, which will probably come out in the fall. Will that version of Final Cut also do the identification and converting in the new operating system as well, do you think?
That would depend on how they go about implementing that.
Okay.
We actually floated an idea of doing exactly that sort of an app for people using a third-party encoder. Probably the fact that they so much hate that third-party encoder and the suggested use kicked them in the butt and got them to act. I don't know. Maybe they were planning to. Certainly, it did not seem like they were planning to do anything at the Creative Summit, but they heard the message there that they needed to, and so I'm glad that they're going to do that. But whether you see if they're using QuickTime Movie Updater, which is part of the QuickTime 10 framework, the Qt Kit framework, then that will stop working when Qt Kit stops working. If they're going to take a custom updater, or they might just say that there's this window where you can update from our release through to when you install the next version of the operating system. It really depends on how they're going to implement it, and I have no real feeling on that other than I'm pretty sure they won't use FFmpeg.
Huh. No, I don't think they. I wouldn't think they would either. Of course.
It produces slightly not to spec ProRes media, which has caused problems in the past for the product team. So,
but are they licensed?
No, they're not licensed. They reverse.
Oh, okay. That's the problem, right?
Yeah. That's the problem. It's because they're not licensed. I know during the Focus movie, some of the media was being managed by somebody using FFmpeg, and it did cause issues in Final Cut Pro 10 in that project.
I'll be darned.
So it was the only way that we would have an engine that we could guarantee would work to convert media outside of Final Cut Pro 10.
Right. So people that don't know Tony Gallardo, now he's in the bottom right of my screen. Tony, why don't you tell us about yourself? So you're in Texas, right? Tony?
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Breaking up.
Okay. So I said
I
for
just
people
Tony Gallardo in Texas, so I'm assuming you're talking to me.
No, I said for people that don't know you, you're Tony Gallardo, and you're in Texas. So why don't you tell everybody about what you do in Texas? I have one question. So I know you as Mr. Fusion, right? Do you consider yourself an editor first, or a Fusion guy first, or do you have a hierarchy of those two?
It depends on which side of the bed I get up.
Okay.
But I really, my day-to-day is I have a production / post-production company here. So I run that, and we do promos and ads. So I would say mostly editor. I direct commercials as well. So it's really more of a creative director. So I'll have a team of folks that I bring in and out depending on how many projects we have going on. The Fusion thing really came about because I was really excited about the idea of having a node-based compositing system on the Mac way back when Blackmagic bought Ion.
Right.
It also coincided with me leaving the company that I was working at. And so I kind of wanted to be able to have a tool set where I wasn't reliant on Adobe subscription for my own personal reasons. So that one of the steps was learning Fusion and to see if that was a viable way for me to still do motion graphics and do visual effects, and could I do it? So that's kind of where that whole thing about me working with Fusion came from, was can I do this and still make money for my client, and still, my clients not even know that I've changed my tool set.
Sure.
So then, it just became about sharing information and going from there.
So you like Fusion quite a bit then, right?
Oh, yeah, I like it a lot. I use Fusion. I also use Motion when I can. But yeah, I like Fusion a lot. It's really good.
And do you have most of your work in Texas, or do you work with clients from all over?
I would say it's probably about 70% is here in Texas. So I have a couple ad agencies that I do work for. So I help them with their campaigns, brand campaigns, commercial campaigns, or just videos in general that live on the web. Promomentaries, as I call them. They're kind of half documentary, half promo based, that type of thing.
Sure.
So we do a bunch of that, short form, 5 seconds all the way to 10 minutes. And then it's been growing the past couple of years, but outside of Texas, work's been coming in.
Right.
Different facets, mostly post-production.
So talking about documentaries, you guys have heard about that Apollo 11 documentary?
Yes.
So that film, that is 65 millimeter actually, was at the National Archives. I was a post supervisor down there for 8.5 years, and I know the guy that discovered it.
Wow.
And I've been in contact with them to find out the actual process of how it was discovered. And these are the things that I can talk about publicly that I know. Number one is nobody was asking for that footage. Number two is they had nothing to play it back on to see what it was. It was actually it's actually marked either the Apollo whatever. It on the film canister it says Apollo, but nobody was asking for it, and they couldn't play it back to see what it was.
Oh, wow!
Isn't that amazing? And that was
they needed some metadata.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
They did.
I wonder what they could have gotten for that.
So Philip,
It
talking
looks
about
gorgeous.
yeah. Well, they have more than just the Apollo 11 footage. It's 65 millimeter. They said that's what they said.
Wow.
But that's amazing. As in College Park, Maryland, just sitting there all this time, all these years. I mean, it's just amazing that nobody asked for it. I mean, they don't just go through stuff and they do catalog things, but they don't necessarily just go through and see what's there until there's a request. So finally, there was a request, and they were pretty excited about it. So.
And there is no way of automating the metadata production on that. With artificial intelligence, machine learning tools, on digital archives, we can just say, go up,
Sure.
speech to text, extract keywords, recognize the people and the places that are in there. But with film and non-digital assets, this is still an incredibly time-consuming process.
No, absolutely. Now, here's one of the things. The company that did the actual digitization of the film, they developed a new process. And the process is the film never touches anything mechanical. It's suspended by compressed air.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I read. There's a Vanity Fair article about the whole what happened exactly. But they developed a new process because one of the things that the National Archives does is to protect holdings and then preserve the holdings. So they always have to make sure they just can't hand stuff off that's that valuable. So that's what I read, that it's actually suspended with compressed air. So it's never touching anything. Yeah, some kind of a new process. So
Right.
Philip, speaking of metadata, what's up with Lumberjack Systems? I think you guys just had an update.
Yep, we built Lumberjack initially without giving much thought to the visual design, and because we kept changing functionality. And I know in bigger companies we have teams who can do the graphic design, and we have an engineering team, and they can work in parallel. Our engineering team is in the other office, and our design and management team is in this office. So when we were developing it, we were focused more on delivering the feature set and functionality. And of course, across last summer, as everybody started to use it, we got a lot of functionality feature requests, all of the context searching. For example, you can have a paragraph selected in a story, go back to the logging view, and the same paragraph will be selected in context in the logging view. Or you can do a search in the selects list and highlight a paragraph from that search, and then take the search away, and the paragraph will stay highlighted in context, so you can see what else is around it. That came as a feature request from a customer. We had not even thought about showing context. So last summer went into building feature requests. Finally, I looked at other tools in the space and thought, yeah, this is sadly a little lacking in the visual design. And we spent some time on thinking about how we would give a visual design to this new type of NLE. And that's the update this week, as well as updating to take time codes into transcripts that are generated inside Builder into the exported transcripts. We also did an update that completely overhauls the interface. It really looks superb in dark mode. The odd observation I made is even before we did this update, when we had a dark mode version support, every support ticket that came in that showed an interface shot was always in dark mode. Nobody was.
That's incredible.
Even though it still works in light mode, but it looks, particularly in this visual redesign, it looks so much better. It looks cleaner, it looks more functional, and it just looks better, and it looks great in dark mode.
So you just described it as an NLE.
Yes, I did. It took a little bit of prompting from Greg, particularly. It is an NLE. You are editing video and audio, but you're doing it instead of in a timeline. You're doing it in a storyline. You're driving that editing with text, but it's absolutely every bit as much an NLE as Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro 10. Maybe not as fully featured, since we rely on Final Cut Pro 10 to make multicams. We always designed Lumberjack to work with Final Cut Pro 10. It's a companion piece, pre-editing stuff before you get into Final Cut Pro 10 to do the finishing, the tidying up, the B-roll, the titling, the visual effects, or anything like that. Lumberjack is about getting the metadata, getting the story together before you start putting the pretties onto it.
Right. No, absolutely. And Tony, you said you just recently used Lumberjack, right?
Yeah, we are starting to do a campaign where we're going to be interviewing a bunch of doctors and nurses and patients. So I'm kind of in advance putting the team together and wanted to try some sort of way of transcribing, giving something to my client to use. So it was recommended that to check out Builder, and I did, and I'm really loving it. I haven't jumped in deep yet, but just the notion of taking the XML from Final Cut into Builder and saying transcribe, I mean, I almost dropped my coffee when I realized that, the clips were being transcribed so fast. And then starting to work with it and then, like you were saying, assembling your story. Yeah. That is really, really powerful because it's different. You see it, you read it, and then right away you're just making new keywords, making new paragraph.
It's so fast to add keywords when you can just read through text. I actually had to keyword a project, our demo project. I did actually have to keyword it, and there was a 14.5-minute clip in there, and I'd expect that a 15-minute clip would cost me half an hour to 45 minutes to log. I was done in 7.5 minutes because I didn't have to play the meter. I just read through the paragraphs, put the keywords across whatever text ranges I wanted, and it was done. I mean, it was so quick.
Well, and then just, like I said, I haven't done a deep dive into it yet, but just I saw that I could export the transcript and I think a Word doc or PDF, I can't remember which one it is.
Probably, yeah.
Send it off to the client, and they look at it, and right away they've kind of highlighted these, like these are the cool bullet points we want to cover, however you want to do it, but this is what we like. And that was really nice, I think, for them and then for me, because I could just send something off real quick, get it back, and then in Builder just boop boop boop, send it to Final Cut, and then do my my tweaking and stuff. So I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if anybody has any questions, they can comment in the chat, and we'll try to get to them if we can. So Philip, I presume you're going to be at NAB. Lumberjack Systems is going to be at NAB.
We are. We're going to be on the OWC and Friends radio stand. That's C295. 2952, isn't it?
952.
952.
2952.
Okay, I'll get it right before NAB. when I don't rely on memory.
Cirina, tell us about that, whatever you can publicly right now. What's going on with Lumberjack and NAB?
Well, it's pretty awesome. Back by popular demand, OWC Radio has been resurrected, and I'm really excited that I can say I'm going to be hosting it. Nice. And we have this wonderful booth at NAB that has places for people to come and sit and watch, and other press people can come in, and if they want to do some interviews there, that's fine too. But we'll be there interviewing all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm really, really excited about it. I'm very excited about it. And Philip and Greg are awesome. Philip is exec producing and helping to book the show, and Greg is engineering. And it feels like the old days again, coming back together. So we're actually going to call it the OWC Radio Creative Club. So it's all of our friends, and the emphasis is on creativity. And of course,
we should do a theme song to the Mickey Mouse Club theme. We should get some new lyrics.
There you go. Yeah, I'm really happy. OWC is a company that really supports creatives, and I think that I couldn't be working with more wonderful people. And like I said, I love to talk. So what could we sit there
and I think the thing that
people.
The thing that differentiates what we're doing with from other people at NAB is that we're really wanting to focus on creative applications. So if somebody wants to bring in somebody in to talk about their product, they're going to bring in somebody who's using it and talk about it and how it's being used used creatively, so that people get their work done.
Nice.
Yeah, like have you guys heard of Ryan Connolly with Film Riot?
Yeah.
Film Riot's interviewing on Monday, and they're bringing Ryan Connolly to talk about how they're using Filmic Pro in a lot of their projects. And then we've got LumaTouch coming in. Terry Morgan's bringing Henry to Business. Henry to Business is a Grammy Award-winning musician.
Is that his birth name? I suspect not.
No, it's Henry. Not like Henry money to business better. Yeah, and so it's going to be fun. We have a lot of creative people coming with the tech guys that have created what allows them to do their business, which is wonderful for all of us, because what would we do without the companies that create the software and hardware that allows us to do what we dream to do every day.
I've been buying from OWC for years and years and years, a long time. I mean, maybe into the 90s. When did they start? They're in Chicago, right?
Larry O'Connor started the company when he was 14 or 15 years old. Wow. So I think he's in his 30s now, right?
Yeah, okay.
I hope I'm right. And it's just, they're very, very green. The company is very concerned about the environment, and they have a female, Jen Soule, as president of the company. And I got involved with them. Actually, Philip, you and Greg lent me an OWC drive about 10 years ago. And that was my first OWC drive. And that thing still works. It's old technology now, but it still works.
Sure.
And so anyway, but the exciting thing for me is to be able to just sit there, talk to wonderful people, and find out all the new stuff that's happening. We're reaching out to some pretty cool folks. I mean, Film Riot has something like 3.7 million.
Oh, yeah, they're big. They're big.
Well, fan base, and so we're going to have some YouTube stars there, but a lot of our friends, dear friends like Michael Camus is going to come on, and I just reached out to Michael Horton and Trevor because I would love the father-son team on. Wouldn't that be awesome? Say yes, Michael.
I really think it's great, the approach that you just mentioned, where it's not just about somebody talking about new features. It's really about the user and how they're using those products to fulfill their creative needs and challenges. So that feels real, much more tangible to a real story and a real person. So I think that's going to be exciting.
So Tony, are you going to present at NAB? Do you know yet for anybody, any company?
No, I don't. I'm not doing any presentations.
Oh, so you can relax then. You don't have to worry about studying and all that stuff.
I can't comment on that, but I can do a little bit of relaxing, but no major public presentations.
You should visit OWC Radio, and we'll ask you questions about what.
I need to sneak over there. Yes, that would be good. I'll do it something, but I can't say what.
The other thing you can do is come onto the stand and charge your devices too. We'll have a couple of charging stations available for people.
That's going to be huge, especially at NAB. Everybody's walking around.
Absolutely.
That's gold.
4 feet, so there's a place to sit. It's not huge. It's a 10 by 20 booth, but still, place to sit, a place to charge, and just a place to interact with other people and have fun.
And where is that again, Cirina? Where is it?
It's Central Hall by the South Connector, C22592. Let me just double check, make sure that's the right.
2952, isn't it?
29. Oh God, am I dyslexic today? Oh my God.
I'm sure it'll be in the index, but we'll make sure we'll post that when we do some more of these live events. So Philip, you told me when I questioned people about a month ago, and I asked what was going on Sunday night, because I'm getting in there Sunday, and you mentioned the FMC event. So now I'm going to that. I'm going to cover that. It's the creative. It's called the creative something. I forget what it's called.
I would have known it if. Yes, it's a creative. Yeah, it's just basically a creatives party.
Right.
It's not being billed as anything more than. And although we'll have a table there, my approach is, hey, it's a party, so come look for your party favors. I've got these cute little LED lights and glow sticks and everything, so we'll make it a party.
Absolutely.
Nice. Is that something that anybody can sign up for?
Yeah, I believe tickets for anyone who's not in the FMC conference are about $60 for the party.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. Let me see, where is it? It is so they have. Yeah, that includes dinner though. That includes dinner, and I think it includes some drinks. Philip, does that sound right?
Probably 1 or 2 tickets are included. That seems to be the pattern with that sort of an event.
Right. And
I can't imagine it wouldn't.
Right. And also Future Media, of course, is the sponsor of the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit every year, which is a big a big deal for us Final Cut Pro users for sure.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, Ian Anderson just put on Facebook a little video he made at last Creative Summit. It's like, oh, I want to be back there again.
Well,
it made me homesick for it, and your lumberjack shirts were evident. They just saw the back of mine at one point.
Right. Yeah, I have hours and hours of footage from that I will be putting out as we approach the actual event again, including I have your presentation, Philip, at the dinner club. I have Sam Messman's presentation, and I have iJustine's entire presentation from that. So as we approach the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit going forward, I'll be, sometime after the summer, I'll be presenting some of those videos to help promote that event. They've already pre-announced that event. Not a date. Not a date. Not a date. But they've already pre-announced that Final Cut Pro Creative Summit for 2019. It's Future Media Concepts has.
Okay.
So that's really, really good. I really like them for that reason. Of course, Faster Together this year, so far they have, let me pull that up. They have, now this is interesting to me. Let me see if I can pull that up. Let me see.
Again, it's a real different change in direction from previous, like the Super Meet stage, which tend to be much more product focused. Whereas for Fast Together, they're really focusing on having people who work, people who create, and people who can inspire.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the Faster Together. They've changed the website. This is the lineup. They changed from black and white photographs to the color photographs now, which I think is better. I think it looks better. So these are the people that are going to be there so far that have been announced so far. Only one black and white photograph. That's John Aldrich. Going forward. So I'm excited about that, of course. That's Tuesday night. And that's going to be probably the biggest event. Do you go to any other events, Philip or Cirina? Night events?
No, with the Sunday night, the creative party, Monday night, the Faster Together party, Tuesday night, Faster Together stage. There's not really a lot of time to go to other events, unfortunately.
Right.
I used to try and go to 2 or 3 events in a night, and then I realized that, well, nobody really wants to see me that much. I might as well just relax and enjoy one party.
No, absolutely, that's true.
We get invited to a lot, but you can only go to so many. And the Faster Together stage this year, for me, feels like a historical event. It feels we are so lucky we're going to be there at the very beginning of a different way of doing it. And I love that Michael Horton is hosting, and because we all love Michael so much, and it's going to be really exciting. By the way, the booth number for us for OWC Radio is, you were right, Philip, it's 2952, C2952. And the other thing I forgot to tell you is we're going to be giving away a nice prize at the end of every day, and you do not have to be in the booth to get it, but you do have to stop by the booth and leave your card.
No, there you go. There you go. So the Sunday night event is called the Content Creators Celebration. It's an S222 and S223. They have a registration package, and that's Future Media. So it says access is included for full post-production World Pass holders, $50 for those with the post-production World Session 3-pack, and $65 for all others. But I'm pretty sure that includes dinner and stuff. So, and look who's there. This is Jeff Greenberg.
Of course. How could we do an FMC event without Jeff, even though he no longer actually works for them full time?
That's right. He's a consultant.
Yes.
I thought he was so generous and kind to everyone at the Creative Summit. It was so nice to have him there. He's just a wonderful person.
He's a wonderful person. Yeah, he is, really.
He's got really good energy, too.
Yeah. He does a loud voice.
Yes.
I was just going to say he's very quiet as well. Very quiet. So that'll be great. So they've pre-announced the Creative Summit for 2019. Like I said, they haven't announced the date yet, but they have pre-announced the actual events. So they're going to be hosting that again. I agree with you, Philip. That's my favorite Final Cut Pro event of the year. Now we've been spoiled for NAB for the last couple of years with the Final Cut Pro team, the marketing team, doing a presentation. So we'll have to see what happens this year. I think last year they announced 10.4 before NAB. like the week, but like a Thursday or Friday before?
Was it 10.3? 10.4.3?
Well, I think it was 10.4 because 10.4.4 was at the Creative Summit.
Yeah, so it must have been 10.4.3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was a fairly minor update, if I remember.
Yeah.
No, didn't they?
Because I'm pretty sure that happened without any change to the XML.
No, I think 10.4 came out at NAB, didn't it?
That's what they made.
Pardon?
I don't know.
Captions and stuff.
Yeah, captions and stuff.
What version are we on at the moment?
10.4.5. We're at 10.4.5.
Straight. Philip, you need to write a book.
10.4.5. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it was then. Yeah.
So Tend Langdell says, greetings from Northern California. And then we got another comment here. It's a long one. Edward O'Kelly, just dropping in and not sure what I missed. Longtime Final Cut Pro editor and user of Blackmagic cameras. Any thoughts on whether or not Apple might implement Blackmagic RAW into Final Cut Pro? Or am I going to have to learn DaVinci? Thanks for the time.
You're gonna have to learn Resolve.
You think going forward, Philip, that's going to continue?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, I can see that happening. I'd be surprised.
A couple of reasons. No camera manufacturer is going to use the format of a opposing camera manufacturer when they already have their own truly RAW formats. I mean, ProRes RAW, ARRI RAW, and Red RAW are all true straight off the sensor RAW formats.
Okay.
Blackmagic RAW is like if
hybrid.
It's kind of par baked.
Yeah, semi-RAW, I call it.
Yeah, I like par baked because it's the cooking analogy. It's not as finished. I mean, you still have the opportunity to finish it your own way, but it's not an RGB codec. It's not straight off the camera sensor. There's pre-processing, so I cannot see that Red, ARRI, or ProRes RAW would take a step back to a par baked, a semi-raw format, which gives them less than they already had. And again, we have the competing camera manufacturer, and Apple have their own ProRes. So.
No, I understand that, but in order to do Red RAW in Final Cut, there's an app, right?
Blackmagic could write their camera plug-in for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I think they're going to make a plug-in for Final Cut, get that approved. I mean, Apple's already worked with Blackmagic on the eGPU.
Yeah, the relationship has changed over the years, I think.
Okay.
I mean, there was a time when Blackmagic were very much friends with Apple's Pro Apps team.
Okay.
But I think they see that Resolve has stepped a little too close to their own territory. This is my own feelings.
I understand.
That they've stepped a little too close now with Resolve, that they're really starting to see Resolve as a competitor, not as a companion. And that changes the dynamic of the relationship. Whether Blackmagic could do it without the cooperation of Apple, or whether anyone can add a camera support without any Apple cooperation, I don't know. I suspect, since there is somebody in the team that has a role of interfacing with camera developers, that you cannot do it really without working with Apple. And
sure.
whether they even want to support Blackmagic RAW inside Final Cut Pro 10 is another question. These are not technical questions; these are political questions.
No, I understand. But I mean, I wonder how popular Blackmagic RAW is going to be. I mean, the 4K Pocket Cinema camera has been sold out for 6 months.
Yeah, but unless it's supported on multiple devices, it's just Blackmagic supporting Blackmagic's own codec. I mean, it's just
live on their own ecosystem.
Yeah,
right.
There's no incentive unless if ARRI and Red both adopted Blackmagic RAW for some insane reason, then there would be incentive to support Blackmagic RAW inside Final Cut. But until then, I mean, ARRI RAW is already supported, Red RAW is supported. I mean, ProRes RAW is supported. So, where's the incentive to support a codec that's only used on one family of things? ARRI have to write their own. Red had to write their own support. So Blackmagic could write their own support, but.
I think this is a case of the editors are going to drive these decisions, because as a director-producer, you're going to decide what you want to use based on the editor you're going to be working with. And the editor's working in Resolve, then great, and you're using Blackmagic cameras, which I do, then you're happy to use the RAW format. But if your editor is in Final Cut, then you're not, I don't think.
Well, yeah, that's one of the that's one of the things.
There's nothing that says that you can't transcode either. Yeah. We do that now. Right. I mean, we do that when we have Red R3D. I mean, look at Canon RAW. I mean, that's a clunky codec.
Is it?
So Yeah, it is super clunky. It's great. It's good, but it's clunky. So transcoding is still part of our process. I know that now that Blackmagic RAW, it's a different. It's not a full RAW, so it'll play back a little easier.
And that's the reason. That's the reason they do that, is for to ease the playback, because RAW is always intense, playback processor intensive.
But the idea of transcoding is, we do that all the time.
So Tony,
I'm really excited about ProRes RAW. I think that could have potential to be adopted.
So Tony, when you say you transcode the RAW now, but doesn't that get rid of the benefit of RAW? I mean, with the ability to adjust it in post?
Yeah, but with at least for us, the type of work that we do, sometimes we have things that are such quick turnarounds that RAW is it gets in the way of itself.
Gotcha.
So depending on the scope and the deliverables, like for example, I did a campaign last year for the city of San Antonio. We did tourism. So we shot on 2 Red Dragons, 4 or 5 different talent couples around the city. So when we do something on a broadcast level or big commercial level, we'll go to a colorist, we'll pull from the RAW and really do it proper. But at the same time, I've transcoded everything to 2K ProRes files and did like a dailies, a 1-color pass on it. And I use that material when we need to do things that are very quick turnarounds, whether they're internal videos or they're event-style videos. So they kind of have a base color correction, and in Final Cut, we can just tweak to what we need to the creative, so to say. So we use Snapchat ads or Instagram ads. So we use that to be fast and nimble and move things around on the Jellyfish. And then when we have something that's a bigger, more creatively in-depth, we'll link back to the RAW when we need to.
I see.
So that kind of gives us the ability to maneuver quickly at different levels.
Sure. So when you have these apps that do the transcoding of the RAW, do they give you dials and stuff to mess with it, to adjust it?
I use Resolve. I just use Resolve.
Oh,
I put everything into Resolve.
Okay.
And do color correction paths on it, and then I transcode it.
Speaking of the sort of different types of jobs, has anyone watched the Wisteria series 110 100?
I have not.
If you haven't, the 100 gets a little tediously long, but it's a documentary about they did 3 promotional pieces for I think the software is called Storyboard, and the company is Wisteria.
Okay.
So they were one promotional piece had a $1,000 budget, and it was shot with an iPhone.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, shot with an iPhone.
The benefits of the impact of how much production dollar you actually spend, and does that make a difference?
Right.
That was it, right?
Yeah, and they said the 10,000 is shot with a Canon C300, and a crew of about 8 or 9 people, and the $100,000 version, because each one is producing about 90 seconds, so producing about the same amount of material each time. The 100,000 has got an ARRI camera in there. It's got a team of about 20 people, a lot of art design, completely restructure the whole space to make it work better for the production, a lot more lighting gear, a lot more control, and really nicely produced documentaries too. The Wisteria team producing the documentary did a really great job. It's their internal video production team, and in part they were answering, what could we do with more money on our projects? Ultimately, bottom line is the 10K version developed the best value for money.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was pretty amazing what handcuffs will do. Challenges, exactly. Creative challenges can actually brood stronger results sometimes, because you have to really start to think about it and not rely on somebody else will take care of it.
Right.
Yeah, they made that exact point that it's more creative eyes is what you're buying, but also the lack of constraints doesn't help the creative process. That is better helped by some sort of constraints.
No, absolutely. Restrictions sometimes. So Ted Langdale says, any recommendations for editing setup moving forward? I'm waiting on the Mac Pro to see what the heck that is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Who knows?
Well, that, and there's right now I'm on a 2017 iMac, so that's due for an iMac's due for a refresh too, plus the iMac Pro itself. Tony, you have an iMac Pro, right?
I do have an iMac Pro. I have a 10-core, 64 gigabytes with Vegas 64, and I love it. It's great. It obviously, Final Cut does a great job on its own of harnessing the power of whatever system it's on. but it's really helped out for me for Fusion and for Resolve. I'm not pumping out 8K stuff every day,
right?
But when I do need it for the things I need it for, it's helped out a lot. So I really, in my heart, I want to get a new Mac Pro. I don't know if I need one.
Well, that's always the case. I don't need one. I definitely don't need one.
We'll see. But I want one.
I'm tired of buying new gear all the time. I'd like to just settle down for just a little bit and relax and just work.
I love buying new gear. Yeah.
I know.
But I don't like it when a camera manufacturer puts out a camera every 6 months. That, the GH4 came out, and then 2 years later the GH5 came out, and then a year later the GH5S came out. So now I don't trust Panasonic anymore. I got to wait when they put out the GH6 if they're going to put out a 6S.
Well, look what Sony's been doing with their cameras. I mean, remember, Philip, we were shooting on the NEX7, right? And then all of a sudden they went to the A series, and now they've had about 5 or 6 iterations of that just in the last 4 years. It's crazy. You keep buying new gear.
Cirina, have you got the Pocket Cinema 4K yet? Last one I talked to you last year. Yeah, the new one.
No, I don't have it yet. I probably will. Well, I can't really say, but I don't have it yet.
No, I ordered that last fall from B&H. I ordered it, and I'm waiting, and then I'm reading about different things, and then I'm thinking, well, how am I going to edit with the stuff? Even when Blackmagic Raw comes out, I don't want to switch to Resolve.
It still shoots ProRes, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I like the raw aspect. I like to start using that if I get something. But no, but right. I'm spoiled. Look, the GH5, I'm shooting 10-bit 422 files, 4K files, and they're small. Blowing them up to ProRes, my storage and everything exponentially expands. So the GH5 has really spoiled me. For 10-bit 422. Who would have thought of that? 4K. Mm-hmm. So
I don't know how you feel about it, but once you start using RAW and you see how beautiful things are, it's really hard to get back. I'm still now, but for me, for example, on this one documentary that I'm in post on, it's an hour and a half long. And we were well into the process of shooting before RAW came out. Now that RAW came out, we might do some pickups, but then what? You have to transcode it down to what you were shooting before. So I don't know. And then the editor that's probably going to be cutting it finally for us and finishing it is the Final Cut Guy. So.
Hey, gang. I have to go.
Okay.
I have a son who's ready to go see the new Captain Marvel movie.
Oh, awesome.
I've got to get out of here.
Yeah, my watch just told me I had to stand up.
That's great.
It was a pleasure talking to everybody.
Absolutely, Tony. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back around again. We're going to do these on a semi-regular basis anyway for Saturdays, just because it's like more like a regular time when people can get together and talk Final Cut Pro stuff, which is what we're going to mostly do, Final Cut Pro related things. Thanks, Tony.
Well, hopefully I'll see everybody at NAB, and cheers to y'all.
Thank you.
Right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, Tony's gone. Now we're just the three of us for the rest of this session. So besides Lumberjack systems and Final Cut Pro, is there anything else you're excited about for NAB, Philip?
I'm really excited to see applications of AI and machine learning in the industry. There's a whole movement happening there where we are going to see tools. When I first started to research this, I thought, we're going to get to a point where we can have first assembles done by machine learning. We may get there, but I think more likely we're just going to get a lot of really good helper tools, things that like I like the idea of a centaur, a half man, half horse. Well, sure. I mean, half man, half machine. We can do faster. Steve Jobs used the analogy that man is not the fastest animal on the planet, but man on a bicycle is the fastest animal is close to the fastest animal on the planet, and he referred to the bicycle as the computer as the bicycle of the mind. Well, I think when we combine this with what machine learning can give us, in assisting us with any sort of repetitive tasks or even some seemingly creative tasks. I think it's going to be like getting on the motorbike of the mind. It's going to be accelerating us that much further. It's really going to be powerful for people like Cirina and yourself and me, who are essentially one-person production teams. It's going to have less effect on the big production, partly because they're, of course, less risk averse, so they're slower to change, and there's a lot more money writing, so that's why they're risk averse. So their workflows change much less slowly, whereas people who are always pushing the bounds of what they can do with what they've got and their time and their monetary resources, they're the ones that push into the new technologies, and they're the ones that adopt it first. We see this with Lumberjack in Europe. In Europe, everybody's working in small markets. I mean, there are 5 million people speak Danish in the world. So it's a small market. And every year they said, let's produce what we did last year, but for 15% cheaper for small markets. So producers in Europe tend to be very much looking for the next faster, more efficient way of producing something. Whereas in the US, I think people are looking more to how can I make the minimal amount of change possible for what I'm doing now, but stay in business.
So
I think NAB is also going to be about security this year, even more than last year, and the use of the cloud and changes in the structure of our workflow on the back end and security. And also the other thing is 10 years ago, when these democratized pricing on the cameras started to happen and kids started buying them, they're a little bit older now, and they've gone through a generation of trying to make it work and playing around, and now they realize that they have to make money at it. So I think that the whole distribution and financing aspects of it might be very interesting to a lot of people. And I also think it's just ironic, and Philip, you and I have been involved in podcasting, and you too, Richard, since the very first days.
Yep.
And now they have a huge podcasting arena. It's hilarious. I love it.
Little funny story. When Greg was visiting our niece over in Kalgoorlie, who's 25, 26-ish, said, Uncle Greg, do you know anything about podcasting? Have you heard of podcasting? It's like, girl, we were there and it started when it was first an initial burst of popularity, and like, okay, we are really come full circle on that.
No, we really have. So you were podcasting, well, it wasn't called podcasting. You were just putting out MP3s.
We were doing the DV guys were doing MP3s weekly on just a download since like 2000, NAB 2000 through 2005. But in the last 8 or 9 months, the podcasting spec came up, and because of a listener who said, when are you guys going to start podcasting? It's like, oh, what's that?
Right.
And then sent us the sample XML file. It's like, oh, that's easy. We can do that. So we were podcasting, I think, 3 weeks after the initial specification was finalized. So that puts us right close to the beginning, and then it sort of faded out.
No, exactly. I remember when I started in the March before Steve Jobs introduced podcasting at WWDC. The reason I did it was because of Adam Curry. He had the daily source code in August of that year. But before that, though, I listened to the DV Guys. I used to download the DV Guys. There were 2 places I downloaded stuff: DV Guys and Macworld Live with Sean King. Both of you guys had MP3s that you could go download and bring them to the computer.
And our downloads doubled after we introduced the podcast feed.
Right.
So immediately the same, like exactly that week, it doubled and continued to grow from that point on. Quite seriously, and so I think that automatic download, that sort of RSS feed that gives you new material constantly is what makes podcasting viable. I think maybe we should have kept on to ClickTab for a whole lot longer. Well, ClickTab was a technology that Greg and I developed that would have allowed anyone to monetize an RSS feed, even through iTunes or any other source. So you put the feed up there and charge 10 cents a download.
So I saw the biggest change with podcast popularity with the Serial podcast. Did you guys listen to that by any chance?
I did not.
Millions and millions and millions of downloads. The reason I listened to it is because it's about a local murder case up here in Baltimore area. But it was really well done. But it's not really a podcast. It's a serial radio show. It's a little different. But then they had
if it doesn't have an RSS feed, it does not a podcast.
Well, it technically no, it has the RSS feed. It definitely has that.
And it's a podcast.
Well, yeah, but I mean, some of the big, podcasting initially was like do it yourself. It was like people in their garages and basements and stuff, not corporations. That's what I meant, the distinction. Not that it's bad, because it's really good. But after that happened a couple years ago, and I listened to it. It was fantastic. As a matter of fact, Netflix or HBO is now picking up where that left off with the new documentary series. That's how popular it is, because it's not resolved yet. But anyway, so I saw a big uptick at that point. But you're right. At the beginning, it was very popular. Then it went way down, and now it's back up again. People are just, really. And one thing I found out, somebody asked me recently, because I do these live events which are video, and then I do Final Cut Pro Radio, which is audio only. And by far, the audio only is much, much more popular, by far, as far as a podcast goes.
You can listen to it in much more flexible situations.
Yeah, exactly.
We heard that DV Guys was very popular with the Saturday morning snow blowing or lawn mowing crowd.
Absolutely. when I mow grass, I have headphones on to protect the noise, and I put my earbuds in, and I listen to all kinds of podcasts. And when I go running, I do the same thing.
What was the name of the convention that we went to? I don't know if you guys were there, but I went in 2004, and actually Twitter was just starting, and very few people had accounts. It was like a new media convention, but do you remember what it was called?
Podcasting and New Media. I think it evolved a couple of different names over successive years.
This was 2004, and Adam Curry was there, and this was in the days of like Leo Laporte was getting started.
Where was it?
It was in California gosh, it's been so many years ago.
Well, speaking of when Twitter got started, now you got to realize that This Week in Tech is TWIT.
Yeah.
And then Twitter came out with Twitter, and they had an agreement initially that Twitter was never going to be audio and video.
Oh, yeah.
So now,
and Apple will never do anything with music.
Exactly what I was going to say. Apple and Apple Records was the exact same kind of agreement. So now, from what I understand, Leo Laporte's now back in court or whatever with Twitter, because of course that's all it is video and audio, or video anyway. So, because that was his acronym.
How do you hear all this stuff, Richard? Where do you get this?
Well, I got it from listening to Leo Laporte's show. I listen to it occasionally. I listen to No Agenda, which is Adam Curry's big podcast that he has now with John C. Dvorak, if you guys remember him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those two guys have teamed up. Buzzkill and Curmudgeon, or Buzzkill and Crackpot, they call themselves. So that's pretty accurate.
We actually had Leo Laporte. I brought him on the Buzz once years ago.
Did you?
To talk with Larry. We got a lot of downloads for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
He has a whole family of different podcasts and video and audio both. But anyway, I hope something happens with Final Cut Pro at NAB, at or around. If it doesn't happen there, it'll happen. Apple said the first half of 2019 for the update, whatever that is. Now it could be 10.5, it could be 10.4.6. We don't know, but it's certainly going to have at least that feature. So that it can happen at any time, as far as I'm concerned. But it would be nice if it happened around NAB and then the team came and talked about it.
If if there is an update for the media updater framework, I think that will be a minor update. It won't be a feature update. Okay. And the positive thing about getting relatively long periods between feature updates is that generally means that the feature update is being built on a much more important level. Remember the long gap before, was it 10.1 that had library support? Right. Because they had to do a lot of restructuring internally of the app and to support that. So, if there is a long gap, it generally means that we're likely to see something much more exciting come into the app than something that just can be added in, relatively speaking, like noise reduction, visual noise reduction, and color grading tools like that. They are important additions to the ecosystem, but they're not restructuring of the app. They don't require any restructuring of the app. As for example, collaboration would require significant work on the foundations of the app to make that happen.
Sure, absolutely. So if anybody is going to fastertogether.com, there is a discount code. Jellyfish 2019 will save you $5. Instead of $15, it'll be $10. And the $15 is actually an early bird pricing. Now, of course, you can find that on fastertogether.com is where the actual information is about that. So you guys have tickets, I'm sure, right? Invites?
We're going to be exhibiting, so we'll.
Oh, you are? Okay, great. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, just talking. The interesting thing is that they don't want the vendor area, the expo vendor area, to be like it has been, just tables. Sam said that they'd really like that to be much more interactive. So I think we've come up with a way we can demonstrate in semi-real time the whole of the lumberjack ecosystem around a table, and show off some shared storage if we can make that happen too.
Oh, you mean connect into a jellyfish?
Well, yes. Well, the discount code is what? Jellyfish 2019.
2019. Jellyfish 2019. Save $5. Yeah.
Save $5. Well, if you buy a jellyfish, you save a whole lot more and get a lot more efficiencies.
Exactly. So that'll be great. I'm coming in on Sunday. When are you guys and gals coming in?
Sunday, yeah. Coming up Sunday. At least this year.
We've got to get our booth set up on Sunday. I'm going in on Saturday so I can get acclimated and see what's going on and pick up passes and just kind of get settled in and then start on Sunday morning.
So is the floor opened up on Sunday for, even though it's not, the booths aren't open?
No, exhibitors get to set up on Sunday.
Okay.
It all changes next year.
I saw that.
Yeah, the expo opens at midday on Sunday, so we'll all be going up on Saturday. I guess we get that expensive Saturday night accommodation. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need, is more of that nonsense. Although the prices in Vegas aren't that bad compared to other places.
They're not the worst in the world.
Yeah, because they want people to come and gamble.
Well, New York, that's for sure.
They just go up during the NAB week significantly. Yeah, go the week before and see what the difference is.
Oh, there you go. They want you. They'll give you a free room if you come and gamble in the casino.
Yeah, I think these days you need to gamble more money than I earn to get that sort of bonus.
Absolutely. So
I'll tell you, hotel prices go up during CES. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I needed to stay an extra day, and the town was booked up. The only thing available was a $900 simple room in a hotel that normally would charge like $50, and I ended up staying way out of town. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Used to be.
So Philip, the 2018 Mac Minis, do you think that's showing us anything about the Mac Pro form factor at all?
Honestly, I don't know. I did see an interesting concept. Somebody purported that it's a leak of stacked modules with their own, interconnect. That's a really high-speed interconnect.
Right.
That would be a nice way of doing modular in the modern era. I mean, I think we see with the Mac Mini that although there's not great GPU inside the box, with the eGPU, we can add that functionality.
Right.
Well, if one of those modules would just, stack on 4 eGPUs, stack into the system, add as many as you want, just keep stacking them on.
So when you say interconnect, you mean like the feet are actually the connection?
Or something, I don't know. I mean, there was, some sort of, you just basically stick it on top of the base module and you keep adding modules, and there's the data interconnect.
Wow.
It would be some sort of form of like a PCI bus, but not a PCI bus probably, or a PCI bus in an Apple form factor.
But they have to have a place for graphics cards to be inserted, right?
Well, they have to have a module that takes a graphics card,
right.
A version of the GPU concept, but not necessarily a single built-in graphics card. I suspect if they take that approach, and there's only that one piece of evidence that they are, then there would probably be different choices of modules for CPUs, GPUs, RAM, I/O functionality that you just add as you need.
Right. Well, they did say it's going to be upgradable.
Yes, they definitely said that. And this would be a way of making that possible. And unfortunately, theoretically, the GPUs in the old Mac Pro, the round Mac Pro,
right.
could have been upgraded, but nobody ever made a second GPU in that form factor. So it very quickly became out of date.
Did they make that specifically for the Apple Mac Pro?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't realize that. Oh, I see.
Yeah, that form factor of the GPU in there was never used anywhere else. And never on a second GPU, which is a pity, because had they kept moving the GPU forward, that would have had, I think, a lot longer life. But it seemed like not the direction people wanted to go.
Right, exactly. No, I've held off on buying. I stuck with iMacs all this time. And I didn't get the iMac Pro either. I'm just going to wait and see what the Mac Pro is. I'm going to get either the iMac Pro or the iMac or the Mac Pro this year, just because I want to.
Fair enough.
well, here's the thing. What I do is when I buy a new Mac or a MacBook Pro, I get the Apple Care warranty, and then I sell it before the Apple Care warranty is over because that gives you better resale value. People will buy it if it has an Apple Care warranty attached to it. So that's typically what I do. I sell it before 3 years is up. So
yeah, actually, mine will be coming up to 3. Oh, might have been 3 years at the end of December. I might have already been there.
There you go.
So, but I'm not feeling any need to upgrade at the moment because it's late. I guess it's a late 2016 iMac 27-inch, and it's meeting my needs still to this day.
Absolutely. So let's see what we have. Another comment here. It says, could you advise whether your fingers get tired faster when using the new MacBook Pros with the new flat keyboard? I use a MacBook Pro 2011 simply because of the strokes on the keyboard. What do you think, Phil? I'm not that much of a typist, so I don't really spend that much time there.
I use an external keyboard simply because it's just easier. I agree, it's just easier. So I use one of these guys.
Oh, there you go. I've heard a lot of people criticize the keyboards on the Mac Pros. I don't type that much, just whatever I have to, but I'm not a fast typer. I don't do a lot of typing.
I type a lot, and the odd thing is I think the longer keyboard, I bought myself the space gray keyboard. I promised myself that I keep my desk clean, my black desk clean for a month, and with no extraneous clutter, then I would let myself buy the space gray keyboard instead of the white because it sits so much better on my desk. And I found the full-size keyboard, I tend to get my fingers off in the wrong place. I'm a touch typist. I went and learnt typing on a manual typewriter when I was about 16.
Right.
Because my handwriting then was so bad that typing was a needed option.
Absolutely. That's one thing I wish I had in high school. I really missed that I didn't take typing. Of course, I don't think too many guys did in those days. Now I would absolutely recommend typing.
I actually had to go to a secretarial school.
Is that right?
Outside of school hours, yes. I was like a secretarial school. Mostly, I think I might have even been the only guy in that class because mostly they were training secretaries, and by definition, almost a secretary was a woman at that period.
Right.
I did have a situation. I had for a long time a male secretary, and somebody insisted when I called them back at the end of the day that they had talked to me during the day, and it said, "Well, I talked to you because I called and it was a male," and answered, "Yes, my secretary is a male. Get over it."
The best secretary I've ever had was a male. Seriously. I worked as a secretary. I used to type 120 words a minute.
Wow.
Yeah. I do comfortable 70 or 80 words a minute when I'm typing.
Absolutely. All right. So anybody that's watching, you want to come and see Philip or Cirina at NAB or myself, if you see us, just come up and talk to us. And anybody, you see us here, you might recognize us. Just don't be shy. Just come on up and talk to any of us. We'll be glad to talk to you. Now, Philip's, every time I'm around Philip, he's always busy. He is always demoing lumberjack systems, one time after another, after another, after another.
I know the Creative Summit is crazy. I mean, it's just like I want to show it to everyone because I'm so pleased and proud of what we've done. And so, yes, if people keep asking for demos, I'll keep demoing.
No, absolutely.
Sorry.
That's what you're there for.
Yeah.
Well, Philip, Greg, and I will be hanging out in booth C2952 Central Hall on all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you got to come by. And
I definitely will be by.
And Greg and I will probably be in Buffalo Plaid.
Is that what that's called, Buffalo Plaid?
It's actually the proper name for that is Buffalo Plaid, yeah. So if you're looking for accessories, you search for, Buffalo Plaid balloons, Buffalo Plaid T-shirts. You can find all these things.
Oh, iMac covers. Cirina made an iMac cover for you.
Cirina made the iMac cover, yeah.
Now, Cirina, remember Faster Together last year had the M&Ms.
Yes. Do you want M&Ms or do you want Twizzlers?
Twizzlers.
I like Twizzlers better. I'm thinking of getting some Twizzlers.
I don't know if you have to buy them through the unions or not, then it would raise the price up. Because I know at NAB, if you can't just go in and plug something into the wall. You got to have a union person involved.
Yeah.
They have to install everything. Those booths are very expensive, but it's worth it. It's worth it because I think this year it's going to be a nice place for people to come and talk take a load off for a few minutes when you're walking around. It gets tiring.
Oh, it does. And then Blackmagic is, once again, they've pre-announced their stuff. They've introduced the new camera. They introduced Blackmagic Raw to the Pocket Cinema 4K. They pre-announced it before NAB. So do they have anything new to show at NAB, I wonder?
Well, I think that's a really good idea, though. I wish more companies would do that, because if you wait till NAB, by that time everybody's so busy they can't really digest it. And also, think about it from the Blackmagic point of view with their employees. A lot of the employees come to Vegas, and at 5 o'clock in the morning the day before, they're all being briefed on the new equipment.
Right.
And so they have to, it's really grueling. I mean, it's very grueling for the staff, too. I think it was a great idea to announce it ahead of time. Build up the buzz, and then when people come to the booth, they know what they're going to see, and they can actually try it. It's less of a learning curve for everybody. Plus, you get better press coverage, too.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely very true. The press coverage, because I know last year that's what they did with, they released Final Cut Pro, whatever version it was, before NAB, so people were not trying to adjust to it on Monday morning at NAB, redoing all their presentations or whatever. They did it ahead of time so people can relax. I don't know if it was maybe Friday morning they released it. So
something like that, yeah.
I presume that if there's going to be an update for NAB, that's when they'll do it again, Thursday or Friday before.
Probably.
Yeah, that at least even just the media conversion and identification would be a nice little update, because people are so worried about that. I mean, they just got really bent out of shape about it. So that'll be a nice, here, this is how you take care of it. So
yeah.
For the ones that don't know how.
Don't you feel like this year at NAB it's really a celebration of creativity? And we're back to the basics, I think, with what's happening on the Faster Together stage, with what OWC's doing, but a lot of the companies are celebrating creativity. Yes, it's a tech convention, but I love the idea that artists now have a place again where they can feel comfortable and they can feel cared about. Just my opinion.
No, absolutely. That's always the biggest thing for me. I know being in bands and stuff. I never really. I have a Strat. I love my Strats. I have Gibsons and Fenders, and I have Mesa Boogie amplifiers. I love all that stuff. But it's really about making the songs. I always look. That's all tools. How I make a song. Write a song. That's what I do.
Richard, you know what? I would love it. And Philip and I were talking about this. I would love at 4 o'clock every day, which is our last interview, to have somebody that's musical come in with the guitar, and then we could all sing something together. Wouldn't it be fun? Come on, you need to come over.
It would be a lot of fun as long as it's not me.
Aw, you're so.
Who can take your keywords?
There you go.
Sprinkle them in time.
Philip, I recorded that 2 years ago at Faster Together.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I have a copy of that. I'll have to look it up and send it to you.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
I
think I need to jump out.
Yeah, I'm going to get out myself. So thank you both for stopping by. It's been a pleasure as usual. We're going to try to do these every so many Saturdays. Just have a place where people can get together and talk about Final Cut Pro on a regular basis. That's one of the main things. All righty.
All right. Hanging out with you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Finish the party. Now we have audio. So thanks everybody for tuning in. That was fun today, shooting the breeze about Final Cut Pro stuff with Philip Hodgetts, Cirina Catania, and Tony Gallardo, who left a little bit early. So don't forget, fastertogether.com if you're going to go to the Tuesday night event, and the discount code is Jellyfish 2019. Now, during this broadcast, Philip mentioned that there's going to be something on Monday night instead of the Guru Gathering. That has not been officially announced yet, but that's probably forthcoming. That's forthcoming. Something to look forward to. We don't know if there's going to be any Final Cut Pro official events from Apple on Monday, as there typically has. What that means, who knows? Apple's likes to surprise us. So there still could be an update to Final Cut Pro around NAB. If they do update it, I suppose it would be out Thursday or Friday morning before NAB, beginning of April. I doubt they won't release it on Monday morning. I think there might be some updates to ProRes this time at NAB. Maybe some more announcements, because right now ProRes is very, very restrictive. It's very restricted. It's only available on the Atomos recorders and the one DJI camera. So I'm looking forward to see if that gets more widespread adoption, and that's really up to Apple, I think, at this point. So anyway, we're going to continue broadcasting live. I have another broadcast coming up on Facebook and YouTube this week. It's going to be a tutorial plus some comments. I will pre-announce that. And let me see what else we have. Is any other comments going on? So here's, of course, you know my YouTube channel is Richard Taylor TV. Subscribe over there to be notified whenever we go live. And my Facebook page is, once again, facebook.com/Richard Taylor TV. It's public, but you have to request a friend, and I just do a little, I check them out, check people out, make sure that they're not trolls or anything going on there. So until the next time, I will be back this week with another Final Cut Pro live event on YouTube and Facebook. This is Richard Taylor. I will talk to you later.